Right guys, so we've come to the end of developing our application and now it is actually time to deploy it. As you can see on the screen right now, I'm on a domain name which is online. It won't be by the time you're watching this video, but I have successfully deployed the application and I'm going to show you how to do this. We're going to do this using a new Rails 8 tool called Kamal. Kamal makes it easy to deploy web apps anywhere. We're going to be using this in conjunction with Docker and also with Namecheap and also with DigitalOcean. So these are the 4 different tools that we're going to be using to actually get our app online and running. I'm going to use a domain name which I've already used, but you're not going to have to buy one because we'll just be able to enter in the IP address of the app. Docker is free, Kamal is free. However, on DigitalOcean, we're using a droplet and you can get a small droplet for as little as $6 a month. So without further ado, let's get started and deploy our app online so everybody can see it. Okay guys, so I'm in our application and the first thing that we're going to do is search up deploy.yml. This is a file that is going to be used by Kamal, and this file we have to edit quite a lot. Please note that deploying your application is, in my opinion, the most complicated part of the development process. It's more complicated than actually developing the app, and I have spent at least 5 hours today just working out all the kinks, solving at least 15 different errors. There is just an awful amount that can go wrong, mainly because no app is the same. So even though this tutorial is the best that I can produce and I've got all the steps laid down, even with all that, it's programming and you might still have some difficulty, although I will do my best to make sure you don't. Okay, so at the top here, our name of our application, used to uniquely configured containers, service Twitter clone. So I'm just going to call this, instead of Twitter clone, I'm going to call it something different. And I'm going to call it Treehouse app. And then I'm going to go and enter the same thing after this one, Treehouse app. This first bit here is the Docker Hub username. So this is what we talked about earlier. You're going to have to go onto Docker Hub, so Docker Hub, and you're going to have to create an account here. If you're not familiar with Docker, it's a platform that's extremely popular. It essentially makes it so that an application on macOS that was developed on macOS can be easily ported to Windows or Linux, and that's what it does. Now on here, you're going to have to create an account, and then the username of your account, in my case the username is MalachiRails, that's going to be your first part here. So if we go here, I'm going to enter in MalachiRails. So again, your username of your Docker Hub account is going to be the first part here in image. Then the name of the app that you want is going to be after that. The servers we want to deploy to. Here's the IP address of the actual server. This is quite important that you don't leak it to anyone. And we're going to have to change this. So we're going to have to go into DigitalOcean and create a new droplet. And then that way we'll get the IP address of the droplet and then deploy to that droplet. So we're going to have to go into DigitalOcean now and create a new droplet. So go into Brave or go into your browser and then we're going to go into DigitalOcean. If you have not got a DigitalOcean account, go to digitalocean.com or whatever and then go there and make an account. So just click sign up. It's fairly simple, just email, password, maybe a name. I already have my account, and so the first thing that we're going to do is hit create and then droplet. I am creating the droplet in my first project. You might have to create a project before you can create a droplet, so just hit create project. Okay, so here on this create droplet page, it says that droplets are virtual machines that anyone can set up in seconds. You can use droplets either standalone or as part of a larger cloud-based infrastructure. And so then it says choose region. Now, it's very simple. You want to choose the region that is closest to where you are or to where your users are. In my case, my app is not for any other people, it's just for me because I want to demonstrate how to deploy with Kamal. So I'm going to choose London as that is the closest one to me. Now that I have selected London because it's the closest one to me, so it'll be the fastest to load, we're going to scroll down and then we're going to scroll down all the way to choose an image, and we can choose the OS and we're going to choose Ubuntu because that's the one we're running in development, so it's going to be stable and the same, consistent, and we're going to choose version 2022.04. The reason that I'm choosing that version is because that's the same one that I have in development. If the one you have in development is a different one, then I would personally choose the same one that you're using in development to keep things consistent across the board. Then we're going to scroll down and we're going to select the basic plan as that's all I need for this demonstration. We're going to click regular and then we're going to go to this $6 per month package. It gives you 1 CPU, 25 gigabytes of SSD storage and 1000 gigabytes of transfer. That's going to be more than enough for this demonstration. However, one useful feature of DigitalOcean is that you can easily just ramp up how much resources you need to use, and it actually shows you how much it's using per hour, which is about 1 cent per hour right now. It's not going to charge you the $6 up front. It literally bills per hour, so that's really useful because I've created hundreds of droplets in the past few hours. And if they charge $6 upfront each time, I would lose some money, but they charge per hour, so it's better. Next, we're going to scroll down, and here we see the option to add volume. We don't need to do that, but if you needed more volume, as in more disk space, then you could easily do that. And it says no manual setup here, but there is actually a little bit of setup in VS Code. But yeah, you can easily add more disk storage if you need it. And you might need that if your application becomes extra large. and it would be cheaper than buying a higher tier of droplet over here. Now here it says choose authentication method, which is quite important. We're going to be using SSH key, and we're going to create a new SSH key. This is Twitter clone copy is one that I created previously. So we're going to click on new SSH key, and then inside of here, we're going to have to generate an SSH key. So we're going to go and follow the steps here. So SSH keys, create a new key pair if needed. So we're going to have to create a new key pair. So do SSH keygen inside your terminal, ideally in the place your app is. So hit SSH keygen, enter a file in which to save the key. You can just hit enter, and then it says already exists. So that's fine. We're not going to overwrite it, but for you, it won't say already exists. So that's okay. It says you'll be asked to create and confirm a passphrase for the key, so that you can just enter no passphrase. So you can just leave it empty, so enter and then hit enter again. And then after that, we're just going to do cat, if I show you. So cat and then ~/.ssh id orsa.pub. What this does is it just copy the contents of this into the terminal. So if I hit enter, it shows the contents of that file. And then what we need to do is actually copy the contents, and then copy all of the contents and then put it in here. And then the name, we can just call it treehouse SSH. So now that I've copied all of the contents and put it in there, we're going to add SSH, and that is done. Now for me, because I use the same SSH, it's not going to show up, but for you, it's going to be a new SSH. So that should be done now. So that should be everything that we need in here. I'm just going to click tick on this one because it says add improved metrics monitoring and alerting free. May as well, don't see why not. And we could add a worry-free managed database, but we don't need to do that right now. We would do that if we wanted a more scalable application, but for this demonstration, it's not necessary. So hit create droplet. Now we're just going to wait for it to be created. It should take about 2 minutes. Once it is created, we're going to copy the IP address and paste it into VS Code. Okay, so now that our droplet is active and it says droplet has been created, we are going to copy the IP address, which is the one up here, IPv4. We're going to copy that, and then we're going to go into VS Code, into the app, and we're going to paste it in servers web. So now we have that. So that's our DigitalOcean droplet IP address. Okay, next part is proxy. And this is the domain name that we want to use. So in my case, I'm going to use an actual domain name. And the domain name that I'm going to use is called app.clipsync.com. Now, if you don't have your own domain name, you can either purchase one, or you can just not use a domain name. If you're not going to use a domain name, you're going to have to enter your IP address in the browser, which is okay. And for that, you're just going to have to get rid of the host. So if you're not using a domain name, get rid of the host, and you don't need to enter that value. But if you are using a domain name, you should have app.yourdomainname.com or whatever the end of your domain name is. Now it's up to you if you want to say app.clipsync.com or just clipsync.com. In fact, I will change mine to just clipsync.com as that's better. Next up is registry, and it says username, your user. And so inside of here, it's exactly the same as up here, the username of your Docker Hub account. So we're just going to enter MalachiRails because that is the username of my Docker Hub account. If I just go and double check that, if I go and double check on here, if I go click this, it says MalachiRails there. So we know that my username is MalachiRails. The next part, it says password, Kamal registry password. Now this part is quite special because this is just a variable and you set this variable somewhere else. It's the same as Rails master key. So if we go to Kamal secrets, we're supposed to set this Kamal registry password and Rails master key inside of here. In fact, we have to set it inside of here. We don't have any other choice. So to get this Kamal registry password, what that actually means is how we're going to access our Docker Hub account. So what we're going to have to do is create a personal access token to our Docker Hub account and enter it as the Kamal registry password. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go into my Docker Hub account and then I'm going to click on account settings. Okay, so now that I'm in the account settings of my account, we're going to scroll down to the bottom and it says personal access tokens. We're going to click on that link and then inside of here, we're going to create a new token. So do generate new token, and I'm going to call it treehouse token. Now, extremely important that you say read, write, and delete for these access permissions. I ran into an error where I was just keeping as public read only, and I kept getting an error saying you don't have the permissions unauthorized, and so we need to make sure that it's at least read and write, and I'm going to put read, write, delete just to be safe. I'm going to call it treehouse token just to describe it. It's not actually important. We don't need the description, but I'm going to call it treehouse token anyway. So hit generate on that key. And then now it says use this token as a password when you sign in from this Docker CLI client. Now for now, I'm going to copy this token and I'm going to VS Code and I'm going to paste it in here. Now this is something that is highly frowned upon. Pasting your password in here is terrible. As you can see right here, it says do not enter raw credentials here. And this is because this file actually should be safe. And if you push this file to say somewhere like GitHub, then someone will have access to all your secrets, and then they'll be able to get into your application and then potentially harm it. If you want to know how to hide your secret stuff, then you can go onto the Kamal website, and this is the page, we'll link it in the description. And inside of here, it says exactly how to use it using 1Password and different password managers. And this is how you can hide those details and not permit them to GitHub. Doing git ignore won't actually work for this because it's in the secrets, but I'm going to do a terrible thing and leave it as it is. And that's because I don't need to secure my details, because I'm going to delete this app and delete these credentials soon after making this video. Now for the Rails master key, we're also going to have to get that. So go and find your master key, and that should just be in config-master key. So we're going to go to config and then master.key. Copy and paste this and go into secrets, and then we're going to copy and paste it in here. Again, I just want to state one more time, this is really bad practice, but I digress. As long as no one else can see these credentials, as in you don't post it on GitHub or you make your GitHub repository private, I believe it to be okay. Okay, so now that we've done all that, we have set the Kamal registry password, we've set the Rails master key, both in secrets. Everything is done in this file and it's going well. So now that everything is done in this file, we're going to have to actually install Docker. Now installing Docker can be a difficult process, so I'm going to leave the link to the Docker website into the description, and it has the documentation on how to install it on every single different operating system you can possibly have. I'm going to show you how to do it on Ubuntu though. So it says uninstall old versions. Before you can install Docker Engine, you need to uninstall any conflicting packages. And that's because our Linux distribution may provide unofficial Docker packages, which may conflict with the official packages provided by Docker. So we have to uninstall these before officially installing or installing the official Docker engine. So run this command here. So run the following command to uninstall all conflicting packages. I'm going to hit enter on that command, then enter my password. Then I'm going to go down to installation methods and just follow them. So it says you can install it in different ways, and I'm going to install it using the apt repository. So I'm simply just going to copy and paste this whole thing, and we're going to copy and paste it in there, and that should install Docker. Now I'm going to actually install Docker using this command. So it's sudo apt get install Docker and some other packages. So hit enter on that command, and as you can see, it's done. And then we're going to verify that your installation was successful by running this command. And there it says, this message shows that your installation appears to be working correctly. So far in the video, we've successfully installed Docker, and we've successfully generated our personal access token as well as the DigitalOcean droplet. We've also changed our deploy.yml file, and we've also changed our secrets file. So we're nearly done. The next thing that we have to do is go to Namecheap and point our domain name to this actual thing. So we're going to go to Namecheap. So I'm going to go to Namecheap, and I'm already here. And then I'm going to go to clipsync.com, which is the domain that I'm using. I'm going to go to advanced DNS. And then in advanced DNS, we're going to create a new record. So I'm going to delete the current record, and we're going to create a new one. So click on add new record, then it's going to be an A record. The host is just going to be @ and then the IP address is going to be from DigitalOcean, the droplet IP address IPv4. Copy and paste that in there, and then hit the tick. Okay, so now that that is done in Namecheap, we're going to go back to VS Code and just make sure that everything is working and ready to deploy. So I'm going to go over this deploy.yml again, treehouse app. Yeah, that looks good. This one and this one have to be the same. That's the IP address. SSL is true. Yeah. Okay, and the app is looking pretty good, and I think it is ready to deploy. We have Docker installed. We've got the deploy.yml finished. We've got the secrets done. We've got the Namecheap ready and looking for this server to be active. And so I think we're ready. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to run the command called Kamal setup. So let's go ahead and run this command, and let's see if it works. So I'm just on the Kamal website, and it gives you an overview of all of the commands in Kamal. And for Kamal setup, it says that this command sets up all the accessories, pushes the env file, and deploys the app to server. Okay, so I just got an error, and it says failed to validate clone git exit status 32768. Now I'm not sure why we get this error, but I do know how to solve it. So we're going to go ahead and run git add dot git commit -m initial commit. And then what we actually have to do is deploy our project to GitHub. So I'm going to go to github.com, and then I'm going to go and create a new repository. And then inside of here, I'm just going to say treehouse app, and I'm going to make it private to make sure that nobody can see all my secret stuff. And we're going to hit create repository. And then we're just going to copy and paste these two commands at the bottom. So those two, and then we're going to actually push. And now if we run Kamal setup again, we should not get all these errors, or that one error, the git error. and it looks to be working now. Now I understand that Docker can be hard to work with, Kamal can be hard to work with, and that took me about 6 hours today just working all of this out by myself. And so I have a file, a Notion file, where I documented all the errors that I ran into and how I solved them. So I'm going to leave this in the description and hopefully it will help you. And I'm also going to leave in the description another file called Pushing to DigitalOcean with Kamal and Docker Notes. I'm yet to write this out, so I'm going to do that after this video. But yeah, hopefully this really helps you. But hopefully this helps you when deploying with Kamal to DigitalOcean. So if we go back to our terminal, as you can see, it is deploying. It's still deploying, still deploying. It looks like it's working. All this red is actually a good thing, even though it's red. And as you can see, it says cached, and that's because I've run this command before. The first time you run it, it's going to take a lot longer than the second time, because the second time you will have cached a lot of the items, and so it won't take as long because it doesn't have to upload as much stuff. Okay, and so I got an error, and it says exception while executing, Docker exit status 1, Docker std out, nothing written. So when it says nothing written, that means we had trouble connecting to Docker. And so what I'm going to do is check my deploy.yml file. And now I'm not 100% sure, but I believe that we're going to change the service name to Twitter clone, and then that should actually change it and make it work. I believe that actually has to be the name of your application, not something you can set on your own. So because it says Twitter clone up here, it has to say Twitter clone there because that's the name of our actual application. Now that I've done that, I'm going to go to the terminal and I'm going to hit clear. Then I'm going to run git add dot git commit -m, and I'm going to say changed deploy.yml to Twitter clone. And then we're going to say end quote and git push. And then now if we run Kamal setup again, hopefully it's going to work. I got the same error again. Now I got this error Docker std out, nothing written again. So I'm going to try to log in. So I'm going to say Docker login. It says login succeeded. And I believe the issue was that the treehouse token was not actually created yet. I was still on the page where I was going to create it. I pressed create, but then I didn't say back to personal access tokens. So you have to say back to, and then it actually says create. So let's see if that works now. We're going to try Kamal setup and hopefully it works now. As I said, there's just a million things that can go wrong with developing. And that's why they actually made Kamal, to make it easier. And I do believe that they have achieved that, but it is still a hassle. Okay guys, so I've actually got notes on this error, and it says that to fix it, I have to change from PostgreSQL to SQLite. So let's go ahead and do that. So to do that, we're going to go to the terminal and we're going to do Rails DB system : change. And then we're going to say 2, and then we're going to say SQLite 3. Now if we enter in that command, that's going to say config.database.yml. We're going to say yes. And then we're also going to bundle install to install the new SQLite. And then now that we've done that, we're going to actually run git add dot git commit -m, change to SQLite 3, git push, and now we're going to push. And then let's run Kamal setup again and give it another go. Fingers crossed, this is the time that it actually works. It should be if my notes are anything to go by. And this time it actually worked. It says finished all in 34 seconds. So changing from PostgreSQL to SQLite actually worked. And I believe that's because in order to have PostgreSQL actually work, you need to create a managed database with PostgreSQL. Now, normally I'd be against using SQLite 3 in production, but I think in this scenario, it's perfectly fine because I'm not going to have that many users on my app, am I? And even if I did, I could bump up my droplet to give it more resources. So now with everything done, our app being uploaded, everything should be working. And if we go to clipsync.com, if we give it a few minutes, it should load with the new website. Okay guys, it's like 4 minutes later and I'm able to view the website on mobile and it works perfectly, but I can't view it on my browser and my PC yet. So we're going to go to CMD and we're actually going to clear the DNS cache of the computer. So to do that, we're going to run ipconfig/flush DNS and hopefully that works. And as you can see, it says successfully flush the DNA resolver cache. Hopefully that does something. Just to try and speed up the process because it's worked for me before, I'm going to go ahead and add ns1.digitalocean.com as one of the name servers for my Namecheap. So I'm going to go to Namecheap and then go to the domain. And inside of here, I'm going to select custom DNS. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy these into custom DNS. And hopefully that makes it actually load faster. Add name server. Then I'm going to go ahead and press tick. It says DNS server update may take up to 48 hours to take effect. So this really is kind of a waiting game. This is the one thing I don't like about domains. I'm not 100% sure if it's working, but I'm sure I've done everything right. So hopefully it does work. Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and restart my computer and see if that helps. Alright guys, so it's about 10 minutes later and I've just restarted my PC and now the website is actually finally loaded and it looks like we've successfully uploaded our project to clipsync.com or the domain that we've been to. So I'm going to go ahead and sign up and see if everything is working. So I'll just sign up with a new email, 123456 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, sign up. And as you can see, it says, welcome, you've signed up successfully. Then I'll create a new post and see what happens. So I'm going to create a new post, first post on the website. And then we're going to put that in bold and italics and then connect an image. And then we'll say TT. And then if we do create post, as you can see, it says the post was successfully created, and we can like the post and we can unlike it. And then we can also add our real-time comments. So hello. And then if I open my other browser, so I'll just do another browser, put that over there, put this one over here. If I hit create comment, it should appear on the right. And as you can see, it does in real time. So that's perfect. That means our action cable is working. And that is great. So the website seems to be working, and that means that we have successfully deployed with Kamal to DigitalOcean, and that is really awesome.